Hey everyone, it's Mike Gandes here. We're talking today about storage bins, whether or not you should have them in your lawn care and landscaping business, and whether you should store materials like this at your shop space. Let's go over the pros and the cons. First, pro, I can load this up whenever I want. 6 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon, I don't have to wait on my supplier, I don't have to wait on someone to deliver, I can just come pick it up. Great, very convenient. I also save a lot of time for my crew because they don't have to go and wait, drive 10, 15 minutes and wait for 20 minutes while everyone else is getting loaded up first thing in the morning on their materials. They can just load it up right here. Another pro, fantastic. Makes my guys more efficient, less drive time, don't have to worry about getting 3 yards when I only need 2 because I don't have to go back to the supplier. I know I can just come right back here and dump the material back here if I don't finish it all. That's all very good. Now, what are the cons of having these? Number one, expensive to build. These massive ecology blocks that are like a gazillion pounds are expensive to buy, and as well as place them correctly and get them all level and have an excavator here and all the rest of it. Expensive to install. Number two is a lot of space. Look at all these bins. Very expensive to get the space. Our shop space could be almost half the amount of space if we didn't have all of these bins storing material. It's just a lot the cost of storing all of these materials. Another pro that I forgot to mention was the fact that you do get better pricing because I can now order 10, 20, 30 yards of the same product. I can get better pricing, like 30, 40% off compared to going to the supplier. The biggest con, in my opinion, is if I'm gonna have this right here, it means I gotta transport the material, which means usually bigger trucks, like dump trucks, and bigger trailers, which means a lot of cost in terms of buying them and liability and insurance. But the other thing is, I've got to load these bad boys up. So if you swing around here, we got a skid steer, all right? Now this one's not super expensive. However, if you gotta buy 1 or 2 of these just to load up your material, and you've got to put these ecology blocks together, and you've got to get the initial supply of material, you might literally be looking at tens of thousands of dollars, potentially over $100,000 by the time you buy a big piece of equipment like this, a tractor, a skid steer, a track, like some sort of loader, like a front loader. It can get very, very pricey, and insurance goes up, and you got to get more space and everything we've mentioned. So, in my opinion, you should not really focus on trying to get all of your materials in bins and at your storage facility, at your storage yard, until you're doing well over $1 million in revenue and you're focused really on projects where you're using these materials multiple times with multiple crews every single day, and the extra cost savings that you get in having them in bulk is substantial enough to warrant all those extra costs of the equipment and storage and putting together all these ecology blocks. It's expensive, and if you're doing over $1 million, it starts to make sense. But if you're 200, 300, 400,000 in annual revenue, it makes no sense in my mind not just to have your vendor, if they're within 30, 40 minutes, deliver your material with their dump truck so you don't have to go get bigger pieces of equipment. Focus on selling the services. That's what we're focusing on. Don't focus on like getting a completely different business, which is like warehousing material and delivering material and trying to sell like the soil and the mulch and the gravel. Everyone's like, oh, I can make 2 different businesses. Yeah, it's 2 different businesses. Split your attention and both of them will fail. So focus on selling the services. Just have your vendor deliver material. Have them warehouse it all at their shop space, and then you go pick it up. But once you get over $1 million in revenue and you're doing a lot of projects, that's usually when I see it start to make sense from a mathematical standpoint to keep the materials on site.